Yeah, so they've had the same lighting guy their whole career. So like it's amazing to watch someone be able to like, especially with like a jam band show, like someone be able to like just punt a show that hard. And like the first half of the show, the first set, I was like thinking, right? I was like, oh man, then they're gonna do this, and then this. I remember that there was a part in the second half, the second set, that I just stopped thinking. I was just, and I
Mm.
wasn't like on. I was just there. I was just
Yeah.
like there, and just like this is happening, and it was this mix of images and lights. I think I've talked about it a couple times, but it was a really like I wasn't in my own head about art and theater for a few minutes, and
Yeah.
I think it's easy to do that. So yeah, today it's just me and Andrew. We're not we brought in guests a few times. We're gonna do that again. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that it was a lot of fun, like putting in guests, should we start the timer? I guess.
yeah, let's start that timer. So the
All
big
right.
beautiful timer.
Um, yeah, I think like having the guests was a lot of fun. And yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of friends that we can talk to and a lot of um people that I think can bring a lot to the conversation. So uh but it's also very nice to just talk with you as well. Bring it
Yeah,
back home.
that's the thing that I think for me is like it's not a show where we just interview people. It's a show where we also interview people, and
Yeah.
it's good to bring back ideas that we get to bounce around, especially after talking for a few weeks about with people about their ideas. I want to be able to process that with you and work
Yeah.
that out. I think one
That
of the, oh, you can go.
no, I like that a lot because there's a lot to think about, like with conversations that we have with, especially with people that we've been having the conversations with. I mean, there's just a lot to digest and a lot to think about. So,
Yeah, I think one of the things that came up with both Teddy and oh, who was last week?
Joe.
Joe. Sorry, just got out of my head. I apologize, Joe. We had you on the podcast. We're doing more stuff with Joe. Yeah, but it came up is like how, when, and how do you turn off? And I think that's like a big question for me because like it's this very difficult attempt at inner control of like giving yourself time off but not being lazy and not feeling lazy and also not feeling like you always have to make stuff but also holding your like trying to hold yourself accountable but also give yourself time to breathe is more complicated than I think a lot of people give credit for.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that I think has been a part of me and my really I guess you could say kind of my just who I am, my existence, I think for a long time. But I think that a lot of it is rooted, like it's always that, like that combination of nurture and nature, because I definitely, know other musicians who don't have that same stress, that we're talking about. Um, but
At least
so
they
it's
manifest it differently.
what was that?
They like manifest it differently. I don't know. I don't want to
Yeah.
say we definitely don't have it, but
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Um, so it's definitely something that's part of always been part of me. I mean, I can remember like in high school, um, just with it's kind of interesting because a lot of the things that I did in high school, you can sort of see the seeds of
mhm.
what I'm doing now, and whether it was like practicing or event planning or stuff like that, that's all that uh, energy was all sort of there. But what I was going to say is that on the nurture side of it, when I went to music school, there's this kind of unspoken pressure, unspoken law that you should just be practicing all the time, and
Mhm.
you should be doing something all the time, and it's like this guilty feeling if you're not
Mhm.
doing something that's uh, furthering you, like as a
Yeah,
musician.
absolutely. And like
Um,
I that I also that's funny because I had yesterday was me and my wife's day off,
mhm,
our day off, and it was the one,
right.
And in that day off, we went to like 15 different places. We grocery shopped, we food prepped, we prepared this, we prepared that, and like
Mhm,
it's hard, and also I feel like post the bad thing that happened, that's
yeah.
just what I'm gonna call it from here on out.
Mhm,
It's hard to be like, yeah, and then there was like a year and a half we all just like stopped and no one knew what happened, and I don't entirely remember what happened because I had a whole different person emerged, and then he went back away, and then he sort of talked about it, but never talked about it again.
Yeah.
And I will say, because I think we can comfortably say this, as of this week, Zodiac 2 is dropping.
Mhm.
Or it's
Actually, well, by the time this releases, I think it will have dropped. So
yes. So
yeah,
if you're one of the people who watch this, go check that out.
yeah.
So I did pick up a set of Legos, is a weird. If you need to relax, but also are the type of person who constantly is like making and taking and creating, uh,
Mhm.
man, Legos is a good trick. Legos is an excellent trick
Yeah.
because it feels like stuff, but it's not quite stuff.
Mhm.
I think that's they're too expensive though. I will say this: don't do it often. It is an
Yeah.
expensive habit. Do get into cocaine because I think it's less expensive than Legos. Like it's the
I
most.
agree.
I did buy one, but
First of all, hold on a second. We just have to pause for a second. I have to
uh,
say, my wife just brought me a wonderful breakfast here. So we have to say thank you to my wife.
yeah, you eat and podcast at the same time. Don't
Yeah,
stop podcasting while you focus on it.
exactly. So just goes hand in hand. It's like, okay, you can't even stop to have breakfast.
Yeah,
Just you gotta go.
that is that's like a big thing in theater is food and how you react to it because a
Yeah.
lot like I used to be really bad at like working and eating at the same time
Mhm.
and then just like in continuing to just be like you all it is fuel, just eat it and keep going, and like you end up with like a really unhealthy relationship with food that way. I think
Mhm.
that's one of the things that you can see happens when you're not good at taking breaks is your relationship with taking breaks becomes very unhealthy.
Mhm.
And like when you do it, you'll double down like crazy. Um,
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you say that because like I remember especially like um when I first started working at the college that we both work at, and I was doing a lot of stuff at the theater. Uh, I remember it was actually a couple years in until I realized this, but it was like the exact same thing you're saying. Like I finally realized that if I got to the theater, then I just wasn't going to eat because it was just it, like there was too much going on. It was
yeah,
like, something happening and like even like, theater is a lot of like hurry up and wait even,
yeah,
with a lot of it. But even during that wait period, it's like there's this like, "Ah, okay, what's going on here?"
yeah.
And I finally realized that. And so once I finally realized that, then yeah, I would try to like, get a little healthier relationship, and like try to eat before I got in there and everything.
That's something I would love to. That's another. I want to bring in. That's a note for us. Is I want to bring in a person to talk about our relationship to food.
Mm,
That's the thing that an artist relationship to food is one of the more fast because like if you make art, your relationship to food is so fundamentally locked in that the term starving artist is a term.
right.
Like that is, are you hungry? You have to be hungry to get out there. And our relationship to eating and making art is one of the most uh, shocking and interlocked things that we don't talk about.
Mhm,
Uh, I'm working on this book, and it's about the move from modern art to contemporary art.
mhm.
And the move from modern art to contemporary art can be noted by how much it is related to real estate, and that is
Mm,
entirely yeah.
interesting.
The move to big contemporary art and the big dealers, everything, all art
Mm.
by its nature. Excuse me. I apologize, dear. Come on in.
Oh,
Um,
we can't. Yeah, we got to have the star of the show.
yeah, I gotta have the star of the show. You want to come up? But the move from like it is, and I think you can. One of the things we've been going for and talking about a lot is art. Art is rarely, even if you're just like, oh, it's art for art's sake. That's usually kind of a lie.
Mhm,
Uh, so like, art is always about something else, and I think it's also like then if you make art, you're always thinking about something else, so it's really hard to rest.
mhm.
Um, So how do you rest now? Now that you've got moved up a little bit, you're a little bit older, hopefully a little bit wiser.
Well, one kind of along with that, like one of the things I wanted to go back to one thing you were saying before, like with like yesterday on your day off, you said you were like cooking and preparing and stuff like that. So it's like it's interesting because what I was thinking when you were saying that is like I think as you get older, you have like more responsibilities that kind of come into play as well along with your art. I mean, because honestly, like when I was in college, uh, it was really 100% focused on music,
Mhm.
and besides like taking breaks to eat and and of course I partied. I'm not going to say I didn't party, but I mean like the mentality like is really okay. My life really is about music right now, and my life is definitely still about music, but I think as you get older, like more responsibilities and more things become necessary for you to do, like outside of that. And so, like meal preparation or spending time with family,
Mhm.
uh, that's all good, and that's all I think been very healthy, especially like as I mean, we're both married and we both love our wives, and I think for me, honestly, like I remember when I met my wife and we started hanging out for the first time. I mean, I remember this feeling of just
Mhm.
relaxation, and just like, okay, wow, this is nice just to chill with somebody and like not feel that pressure. And it was different in that relationship with her as opposed to like previous relationships because I had never had that kind of comfort, before, or that kind of feeling like it's okay to relax. Um, it was it was just something very different with her, I think, and that's continued like into her family. And not saying that everything's perfect. Of course, it's not,
Mhm.
but I wouldn't still be married if it wasn't mostly perfect. So
Absolutely.
right.
One of the things I think, and this is probably it's something we talked about before, and I think on air I'm going to disagree with myself, which is
Mhm,
great. Um, both of us do work with our wives artistically.
mhm,
That can be very difficult. I'm
mhm.
going to say that from my point of view. I say that with respect, and you make it work, and it's okay. What do you have any from working with someone that you were in a relationship? How have you made that work in the past?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And at some point, I know we've also said just off camera that we wanted to wait and have them as guests, but at some point, I think it would be cool to have them as guests.
It makes
Um,
sense.
yeah, eventually. But it is interesting, like trying to separate the different
Mhm.
uh roles. I think that you fulfill and with another person, um, and in a lot of ways, like they overlap and everything. But I think a lot of it also just kind of happens naturally. If you're uh uh sitting and having dinner and making dinner or going to see a movie or something like that, then uh it feels okay to not talk about music, for a while.
Yeah.
And then also uh I think I think in the case of the work that we do together, and it might be similar with what you guys do, like it's very project oriented, I think.
Mhm.
And so I think in some ways it's easier to compartmentalize, like, okay, when am I working on that project?
Mhm.
Um, if that makes sense. So, and again, like, it's easy. It's easy for me to say, like, uh, everything we do is great and everything is perfect, and I really truly feel that way. And it's obviously not always perfect. So I mean, like, I don't want to pretend that it's not, but like I said, like, I wouldn't still be married if it wasn't mostly perfect. So,
Yeah, and it is. It's funny because I was thinking while you were talking, I was thinking about my own situation, and it
Mhm,
is. It's super easy to be like, this is the project. This is our real life. Let's keep them totally separate. And I am not perfect at that in any way, shape,
yeah.
or form. I think the trick is for me at least is like you can't you have to like leave project you can talk you can do project stuff, but like talk you can't bring project intensity to the rest of the relationship.
Mhm, mhm.
Like that's what you can talk ideas and stuff, that's fine, but like almost like nuts and bolts have to stay separate, because
Mhm.
that's where like the getting it done part is where it can get really intense.
Yeah,
Yet again,
absolutely.
it's not we're not perfect about it. I wish I we've worked. I've worked with my wife a lot in different ways, and I do think one of the things is, at least personally, is I never work with her directly. We're worked as a team. That's something I
Mhm.
do.
Yeah.
Uh, is it's me and my wife. It's me and George and my wife and
Yeah.
this person. And my wife technically actually responds to George, and we both answer to George. She doesn't answer to me.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I always try to keep up. And like I'll
Mhm.
help. I love helping. That's the other thing. That's a positive for me, is I do love to help.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think the other thing that probably helps, and again, this might be similar to your situation as well, but for us, like the way we met was through a project essentially,
yeah, me.
because we met and we were working on a piece, some music together and stuff like that, and then so it was really through that that we became closer,
Mhm.
and so I think that that's been really beneficial. I think, as opposed to doing the opposite, because I think it'd be a lot harder if we were like outside friends first and then we tried to work together. I think it'd be a lot harder.
Yeah, I agree. That's one. Okay, we gotta get. We gotta reset.
That's
Oh,
all right.
okay, we got this. We got this.
We got this. We got this. Keep it
Oh,
going. Keep it going.
keep it going.